The bridge of the Vanguard extraction shuttle Delta 9 screamed with the frantic pulse of Level 9 emergency strobes. Across the primary medical terminal, the rescue target's biomonitor flickered with a steady, rhythmic green line. 62 beats per minute showed the readout, a number so impossibly low that Lieutenant Kryn checked the sensor calibration twice. Would you have kept your heart rate at 60 while the shadows started howling? Or would you have been like Kryn, already reaching for the extraction lever? The deployment paperwork had still been crisp and unsmudged then, 6 hours before the slaughter basin turned into a furnace. Lieutenant Kryn, a Vexorian officer whose mandibles twitched with the precision of a ticking clock, had filed the folder under routine survey escort. It was a simple task. A human named Leo Vance had requested a solo trek through the basin, a request the Vexorian High Command had granted with a mix of bureaucratic indifference and morbid curiosity. Kryn checked the oxygen seal on his wrist, a nervous habit he had performed exactly twice since boarding. Status on the human's position, Kryn barked, his voice rising in a high-pitched click that echoed off the sterile bulkheads. Entering the valley of the explosive flora, Lieutenant, the tactical officer replied. Beneath the shuttle's hull, the slaughter basin lived up to the name that had claimed Kryn's own trainee brother, Vrel, years ago. The air down there was a soup of corrosive spores and shifting thermal vents that could melt a Vexorian environmental suit in under 12 hours. Within the basin, systems didn't just fail. They surrendered. To a Vexorian, the environment was a predatory beast to be fought with technology and terror. Leo Vance did not look like a man fighting. Through the long-range thermal feed, the human appeared as a calm, heat-signature blur sitting cross-legged near a cluster of jagged obsidian rocks. Kryn watched the man's hands move with a slow, deliberate cadence. To the lieutenant's alien eyes, the human looked paralyzed by neural shock, his nervous system clearly shutting down under the psychic weight of the basin's apex predators. He's locked up? Kryn whispered, the dampness of his recycled air suddenly feeling like a weight in his lungs. The blink stalkers are already circling, and his heart isn't even spiking. A low hum of failing equipment vibrated through the shuttle's floor. Even at this altitude, the basin's magnetic frequency was gnawing at their kinetic dampeners. Kryn gripped the armrest of his command chair, his joints locking in a sympathetic stress response. He couldn't understand the data. Human physiology was supposed to be fragile, yet the medical scan showed a white blood cell count of nearly 10 billion, a staggering, aggressive immune response that seemed to be treating the basin's toxins like a minor seasonal allergy. Through the static of the howling rapids, the shuttle pushed deeper into the restricted zone. Leo Vance remained motionless on the screen, his head tilted back as if he were listening to a song rather than the screams of a dying ecosystem. Kryn felt a flicker of genuine horror. He had seen seasoned Vexorian warriors weep in this valley, yet Leo Vance was simply existing. Prepare the gravity snare, Kryn ordered, his mandibles snapping shut. We extract him before the blink stalkers realize he's already dead in his boots. The human reached into his pack and pulled out a small, crumpled sheet of deployment paperwork, glancing at the back of the page where a few messy, handwritten notes were scrawled. He wasn't checking coordinates. He was looking for something else entirely. The gravity snare hummed, its emerald light bathing the ridge as the shuttle's bay doors hissed open. Lieutenant Kryn's mandibles clicked in a frantic rhythm, a sound like dry twigs snapping in a storm. He stared down at the human, waiting for the blink stalkers to lunge from the shimmering heat of the vents. Below them, a shadow detached itself from the obsidian rocks, a creature of translucent muscle and teeth that existed between heartbeats. Leo Vance didn't flinch. Instead, the human reached into a small metal pan and poked a piece of sizzling white fish with a combat knife. He's not paralyzed, the tactical officer whispered, his upper limbs trembling. Lieutenant, look at his hand. He's testing the texture. Kryn ignored the observation, his focus locked on the thermal scanner. The basin had already claimed Vrel because he had panicked, his heart rate redlining until his suit's cooling system suffered a total system failure. 11 hours was the record for a Vexorian in this hell, yet the human was passing hour 72 with a pulse that suggested a nap. Against the ridge, the blinkstalkers froze. These predators hunted by sensing the chemical spikes of fear, the sharp scent of adrenaline that usually preceded a kill. But from Leo Vance, there was only the smell of lemon pepper and charred protein. The human looked up, noticed the massive emerald beam of the Vanguard shuttle, and sighed. He didn't run. He didn't reach for a weapon. "Should I have waited?" Leo asked, his voice crackling over the emergency frequency. The fish was getting cold. Leo Vance flipped the sizzling fish steak with his combat knife while the apex predator watched from 5 feet away. The creature's pupils dilated, its snout wrinkling in confusion. It took a step back, then another, before vanishing into the obsidian jaggedness. Couldn't recognize Leo as prey because Leo didn't recognize the basin as a threat. The human had simply normalized the lethality of the slaughter basin until it became a backyard. "Target is secure," Kryn stated, though his voice lacked conviction. As the gravity snare lifted Leo toward the shuttle, Kryn grabbed the deployment paperwork from the human's hand. He expected to find a distress log or a final testament. Instead, the back of the routine assignment folder was covered in scribbled notes about the thermal properties of the sulfur vents and which local succulents made the best garnish. The report would later trigger a total reclassification of the Vexorian tactical doctrine. In the sterile light of the bay, Kryn watched Leo Vance sit cross-legged on the deck, meticulously cleaning his combat knife with a rag. The human wasn't a survivor of the slaughter basin. He was its most relaxed resident. Kryn checked his oxygen seal one last time. He walked to the bridge and began the paperwork to transition the rescue mission into a recruitment drive. The deployment folder sat on the terminal, its edges slightly singed by the fire of a breakfast cooked in a death zone. Lieutenant Kryn looked at the biomonitor one last time. 62 beats per minute.